Hi, everyone. My name is Anna, and I am the Strategic Advocacy and Awareness Lead for ShareFile. We're going to go over some real pain points, some real use cases, and really show you how ShareFile can make your work simpler, faster, and more secure. And helping me do that is my partner in crime, Evan. Evan, do you want to introduce yourself?
So I work within the customer success team here with ShareFile. So my team works hands-on with customers, me specifically. I work in accounting firms of all sizes. We're working with CPAs, tax managers, controllers, audit teams. A lot of different various teams are relying on ShareFile to eliminate document chaos and streamline the collaboration behind it. So today, as this is part of my role, it's something that I'm here to help out as well, to walk you through how ShareFile will bring some of this to life through flexible workflows and adapt to anything that you need within your firm. So thank you.
That's awesome. Let's get started. I want to kind of set the stage about the impact of what a seamless process can look like. On the face value, if you're thinking, oh, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I really want to just take a moment and spotlight this workflow and kind of talk about how it is a great opportunity of low-hanging fruit. There are some real efficiency gains that can be made there by just making sure you have the right tools and standardization and process. So we'll kind of cover that today. Then I think it would be really interesting to dig a little deeper. Well, what is it about document request lists? What are some of the most challenging pieces of that workflow? And so we'll cover some of those today. And then Evan's going to help me talk about where ShareFile can come in to help you and help your team. And what are some of the key features within the platform that have been designed to help streamline your workflows. For those of you who don't know ShareFile, let me just take a moment to introduce ourselves to you. Some of you may have heard of us. We've been around for 2 decades. And interestingly enough, a fun fact about ShareFile is that our origin story started by helping an accounting firm solve a file sharing problem. We have since grown then to do way more than just file sharing. But if you know of us for that reason, that is probably why. We are 7 million active users strong. And people in the accounting industry turn to ShareFile to help them streamline and automate document workflows, like the workflow we're going to talk about today, document request lists. And we help simplify your workflow so that you can really focus on things that matter. Why is it so important to have a streamlined and efficient document request list process? What makes this low-hanging fruit, as I alluded to earlier? I think it starts with looking at some 3 impacts that I can think of. One is that a smooth workflow can positively impact your revenue. It's a domino effect. The faster you collect the documents that you need from the client, the faster you can begin the service, then you can complete the service and bill for it, and you can start other services with that client or other clients. I know you guys all know that, but I think it's important to reemphasize that this can have an impact on efficiency, which has a big impact on revenue. It also has a big impact on your client experience. Client experience can feel like this overwhelming thing, but it really boils down to an accumulation of all of the interactions you have with your clients. So this one engagement, this one process on this engagement of collecting documents, that's a client touch point. And those touch points added up over time create your experience. So if this process is really easy, if delivering documents to you as their accountant is super easy, they feel like they're in the know, that's a really positive experience and is going to impact their overall impression of working with your firm. And then it also impacts resource allocation. When you are more efficient, and I think I'll say this about document workflows like document request lists. They are essential to completing the service, but they might not be considered a high value task, meaning they might not be strategic. They are a little bit more production. And so if you can offload that production work and that manual work, well, now you're freeing up your resources, your staff, to use not just their time, but their mental fortitude and their focus can be put anywhere else that's important. That would be up to your firm, whether it's, growth strategies or client experience, but you are freeing up bandwidth to focus on other strategies.
Yeah, I'd like to, just say workflow is such a loaded term that you hear a lot. So when I'm speaking with customers, it is really just like you see a flow or a chart here where you are working through that specific document. Workflow cycle is the important part to think of what we're impacting here. And so collecting data from your clients, thinking about the creation, the generation, the organization of the data, how we're storing it, how we're aggregating it, how we're retaining it, how we're moving on with repetitive tasks, and then the security behind it. And so all of that is part of a workflow of the movement of data and access controls, and that's a huge part of the inherent value of ShareFile, outside of even the stuff we're looking at today. Just a big thing to note.
Yeah, thanks, Evan. I think that's really important. We're talking about all the steps that go into, making a process complete. That's great clarification. Let's turn our critical eye to the document request list process or workflow. This stat really jumped out at me. It's from a 2024 report, but in a survey, getting documents and information from clients was the biggest workflow issue that firms face in 2023. Well, what is a document request list other than getting documents and information from the client? So this workflow was cited as one of the biggest workflow issues for firms. So the data says that this is painful for a lot of people. And let's talk about one of the reasons why. I've got 3 teed up. This is the first reason I think that document request lists can be so painful. It's because a lot of firms are still doing it manually. And what I mean by that is you are using email to communicate with your clients to make requests for documents. You are project managing it. You are following up. Hey, did you get my email? Hey, have you submitted these lists yet? That's a lot of time and effort that's being spent there. Also, email can really confuse things. If clients are sending you documents, I'm guilty of this. I will sometimes respond to one email and then start a new thread because I feel like I need to start fresh and start anew. Well, now I have conversations and documents in 2 different emails. And so as a service provider, as an accountant, or as a firm owner, overseeing my team, they now have to do the manual work of finding all the information. And it kind of boils down to, it's really challenging to get a quick snapshot in real time of, okay, where are we with this? What documents have I requested? Which have the client submitted already? Which are pending? Which have I approved? It's really hard to get that quick level snapshot. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah, certainly. Let's take a look just briefly then at that, at least the first step in the process here. Let me open up my browser tab. So I'm logged in right now to the ShareFile web application. This is like the main portal where you and your team would be working out of. So we're looking at how ShareFile can replace initially that manual document collection, replacing email, Excel chaos, with more of a singleized workflow. So we're playing more of like a CPA in this case. So I can come into my ShareFile account right off the bat. Let's just say from a bare bones perspective, I want a way of providing manual document collection here. I can go in and create a project, is what we call in this sense. And if it's a blank one-off project, this is kind of that first step in the flow is, okay, the technology is introducing a way for me to do more of like an ad hoc, one-off. I need to work on an engagement. I need to request some documents for a 1040 here. So I'll call this, client X 1040. I can put a description in there if I choose. And just real quick, I now have this root project. So I want to get some documents out for my client who I want to then say, hey, please send this over to me as soon as you can. So the first thing is, let me just link this shortly to a contact that I have in my database. And within ShareFile, it should be able to look for clients that we have or to create clients. So this will be people who you are frequently working with. So you can link clients from here. But in the case right now, I want to have a document request. So right off the bat, we're thinking, where's the process of repeatable, trackable? I want to come in here and get some line items. The first thing I can do is I can create a blank request. Now this can be, in this case, we'll call it a 1040. For the main request here, I can assign a due date. So now behind the scenes, ShareFile will go ahead and send notifications on your behalf to remind the customer of, hey, we need these documents within a certain amount of time. And so coming in here, we do have the option to create line items. So each line item could be something like, maybe I need to get a W-2 and I want to choose an individual due date for this one over another document where I can, again, manually come in and add items. So in this case, it's effective to the point that I can come in and create line items and assign them to someone where then they have to submit them and have a due date, and that's great. But you did notice there's still a little bit of real-time updates, thinking on my toes that I have to do here. So you may have noticed when I was going and creating a request that there were some other options, and those are some other avenues that we can talk through as well. But from the beginning standpoint here, we can create a repeatable, trackable process. So no more like jumping across inboxes. From a client perspective now, I can obviously have a quick view that we can look at as well from the other angle. But from a client perspective, all I have to do then is I can click into an item and upload files. So we'll dive a little bit more into the client perspective here. But as you can see, it's very easy to comment, to upload attachments, or from your perspective, to go and just create more of a one-off type experience. So this can support any sort of flow, as you see, tax, audit, accounts payable, consulting. It's really designed to flex into your team's needs, but we do also have, again, more of a centralized or automated manner behind this, and that's what we'll take a look at here in this next iteration.
Awesome. That was really helpful. Thanks, Evan. So let's talk about challenge number 2 that we've heard. What Evan alluded to is building that request list itself. What are the documents? What's the list of documents that I need from my client? Lots of people are still building these from scratch, and unfortunately, it can be a little bit of a redundant effort. It feels small in the moment. I'll just create this real quick. But if you multiply the time savings or the time wasted of creating a list from scratch, multiply that by every engagement, multiply that by every client, that's a lot of time that you can save. And another challenge is when you are building it from scratch every time, you are opening up the risk that you might forget something because a process isn't standardized yet. So these are, building the list of documents itself. There's another opportunity there for efficiency. And Evan, why don't you show us a little bit about ShareFile and how it helps with that?
Definitely. Let me pop back over here. So jumping back into the main request, let's say that imagine that we don't have like a saved list. I'm not really sure where to start instead of building from scratch. So ShareFile does have some AI-powered components built into it. In this case, this is more of a document generation type AI component. We do have some other features around more of the security front, of more recommending if you're sharing something in an insecure way, or another component where you can actually review and open files that clients send you and have more of an AI assistant that could summarize the contents of the document. But in this case, we'll look at the document request list, as that's the focus of discussion today. So I can choose to create with AI here. For the request name, let's just put, let's call it, annual tax. In this case, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm choosing a due date. Now, depending on the industry, again, we do support customers of all shapes and sizes, although a lot of what we're designing here is more focused towards an accounting industry. I can also choose the role that I play in this element or what I am doing, again, who I am. And so in this case, let's say that I want to just provide, I need to there. And so If you've worked with, AI in the past, prompting is always a fun thing. It's really like just putting your conscious thoughts in there and kind of working with it. But I have some fun with it. It's always good to think about what your AI footprint is too within your organization and how your end users are doing it. Having it ingrained in within your technology is always a benefit. So from here, being able to hit generate items based off my thoughts, it can now look to determine and eliminate the guesswork to ensure that we can cover all the bases of what I'm going for here. This will also create more of like a faster list creation. In this sense, it actually created 12 line items for me just based off of that. I could choose to reprompt or start over if I'd like, or if I am satisfied with what's here, as it is making a pretty strong and solid recommendation here. I can always just go ahead and create the request. So this prompt, as I mentioned, does adapt to any role. And if you're juggling multiple service lines, this will really get you going faster if you want to have more of a repeatable process. So we see that these are now line items that I can choose to add more, or I can also, assign these items out to someone to have them complete it. So again, great things to do that I can then just bring in my client here on the account for annual tax and assign this out to them. And again, if we hop over to that client side, I should then be able to see that there's a new item, or I should be alerted via email, I guess I should say, that there's some tasks for me to complete. And so we can see there's that, from a client perspective, I can see there's a project that's due. I can see that there's the line items that the AI just created. And I understand that I need to upload my business licenses. So if I have those files on my computer, or depending on where they are, great thing with ShareFile, we can drag and drop. ShareFile is a very robust files collaboration and retention type tool. So we can support large files up to 100 gigs. As you notice, the interaction's great. You can view documents. There's also potential to edit files, but also as a customer, if I have some questions, I can also come in here and type a question and get a response, or see the service provider who I'm working with. So not only did AI, build something and allow me to then get these documents as soon as possible, but there's also some added components and value in there. But in the long run, I think the real value is getting the team members onboarded with a tool like this as they want to, build a repeatable process. First guessing, in this case, this is a good starting point, but it can get better, and that'll be the next thing.
Evan, can you actually go back? Because it's something I wanted to add to that I think is really interesting about what you were just showing is, I'm sure a lot of you recently attended AICPA Engage, and I know that AI is a big topic. And one of the biggest questions for users is, I don't really necessarily want to use AI, or I want to make sure that it has a real use case. I want to know how to use this technology. Well, this is a great example of AI working for you and solving a specific use case or a specific problem. And as Evan alluded to, when you have AI built inside the platform, it allows you to start small, start testing it, start using it. And it just kind of gets your feet wet for whatever the next step is in your AI journey. But that's a real benefit too. So just wanted to add that as well, of if anyone is just connecting the dots back to AI, because I know that's a really big topic in this industry. It's in every industry. Let me move on to the third challenge that we found with document request lists: no standardization. I talked about previously on the former challenge about taking the time it takes for a manual process, multiply that by one, by each engagement per client. We'll take all those numbers and multiply it then by every single person in your firm. That's just a lot of time at scale, especially if you are trying to grow your firm, take on new clients. With that growth comes that additional manual work that has to be done. And it's just a source of inefficiency. Also, this opens the door for team members to use a different approach. That kind of can, operationally speaking, create some discrepancies in terms of how long does it actually take for us to finish this process. Some team members will be taking more, some team members will be taking less time. So it's really hard to plan and allocate your resources. And also, it has a big impact on your client experience. Referrals are a big deal. I ask for referrals from my friends all the time. And if I make a referral to my accountant, I would love for the person I referred to have the similar quality experience that I had. And so when you don't have that standardization, you can't really make that guarantee. So you just have a lot of wasted time as you're trying to scale. And it can cause a lot of confusion in your staff, if your staff members, if there's no standardization, and it can jeopardize your overall client experience. So, Evan, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, certainly. So this is where we are trying to ensure that every client receives the same, compliant experience of what we're requesting, and all that, efficiency, reducing time, get that reputation, that process determined of what you want. So we have an AI generated list of documents here. If I jump back to the project, we also have the one that I handmade myself. Either way, let's say that I am satisfied with this engagement, and this is something that I know is a repeatable process that we can reuse. I want to template it, most likely in more details. Maybe you would create, like here, there's several document requests now within this. So as you can imagine, it can also branch out into more of a hierarchy. But let's say at the document request level that I like what I have here, and I want to template this. Now I want to make it a standardized process to reduce the risk and make it easier to scale as we're growing as a team. It's the same thing that I could do if I go into the AI generated one as well. Let's say that this is actually one that we're very satisfied with, or even if I wanted to change and edit one, I have a lot of capability here, but I want to go ahead and save this as a template. So I can actually have a template that can be reused by my team. So once I create this as a template, anytime that I want to create a new project or a new request from scratch, we've looked at the blank, we've looked at AI. Template is great because now I see that there's the one I just created. Here's some other ones that I'd created in the past. So now I can control from a back-end perspective who or which members from my team have access to which templates. So as they're going and creating these, it's very easy from an onboarding perspective for them not to put any of that thought. But now I can just choose and create a request based off of a template that's been there. So from an onboarding to audit prep, every function can create and leverage these for their own workflows effectively. And it works for solo CPAs just as well as enterprise firms, large departments, anyone that has processes. So you want to save that time, get more into that technical work. So it does create a list that I've already determined that is repeatable, that is reusable, and it also has, from a ShareFile perspective specific to tax collection, we do also have templates that are built in within our industry advantage where you can actually create these such engagements where we do actually have templates that are pre-built to provide you with some of the basics for the 1040 tax return. If you're working with S Corps or C Corps, if you're working with LLCs, the types of income and document collection that you need. So all you need to do is just choose a template. You can align it with one of your customers. So again, these are some things now that we have done and put in behind the scenes. Select the text year or the tax year, create that engagement, and that will actually, if I click into one that already exists here, that will actually build out the whole PBC process. We're not here to discuss it, but it does also automate collecting information, data from forms, just like we were building those document requests. And same thing with electronic signatures and tasks as well. So a lot of other great automation built in that can help with the standardization, where not just we allow you to build and determine your own standardization yourself, but with the industry advantage solution where ShareFile, working with professionals like yourself over the last few years, have determined, and through just standard processes of what you have to collect, have determined that these are these solutions that align with these specific processes that we've now canned and built in this whole kind of workflow behind it. So all great things to look into. But I just wanted to highlight that outside of just document requests, there is some enhanced value that we will be talking about in follow-up series.
And just to add a note, what I like about this, what I'm seeing you say, and you're showing all these different ways of working, which is one of the things we've intentionally built with ShareFile, is it can support the ways that you work. There are multiple ways to achieve an end goal. But what I like about this flexibility too, and we've heard from customers, is that it supports your growth strategy. So if you are trying to really niche down in a specific industry, or if there's a specific engagement type that you've identified that you want to go after, well, you can build templates to support those. So it can help, make those transactions, or excuse me, those engagements with clients really seamless, and it can really support your firm strategy and where you're trying to go by making the actual boots on the ground work pretty seamless.
Correct. Yep. And it is great from the client perspective as well. ShareFile does offer a lot of robust capabilities outside of this for, just standard file and folder structure and data retention. And then the client experience is very task-based, task-focused. So it's on that same turn of, we want it to be simple. We need the information in front of us. We don't want to do much thinking. Well, same thing for your clients. This client portal will consolidate all of that process. It will be protected with, if you have individual clients, things like social auth. So if they have like a Google or Gmail account that they want to use, or if we have, support MFA. So there's a lot of great features from a securing and locking it down from a client portal perspective. But again, as I had shown, just to be able to come and drag and drop the files, not worry about the sizing, understand who it is from your team that I'm working with, and have a space to add some questions or to get notified upon due dates. It's very valuable, and it makes my life easier as well from a client perspective. So it is worth noting that, it's kind of a two-way benefit there. Anna started with a lot of the value at the beginning. I was, kind of bringing in some context with the demo, but overall, we talked about real-time document visibility. As you can see, some of these document collection workflow, think through those processes of what that means with the intake, how the documents are moving, the dependencies of who needs access to what. There's a lot of granular controls that, ShareFile can be very simple, very basic, but if you want to lock it down, that's where working like someone like myself or someone from my team when you sign up for an account is a great benefit to find that real time to value as well. But it will, increase that document collection process. It simplifies it in many ways. So as you see, up to 3.5 times faster, as much as we love numbers. So AI powered is also great. The AI powered generation, it's important to think about where you're leveraging AI within your organization and how it's touching specific data or what it's tied into. So it's good to have a solid evaluation. For ShareFile being able to offer this in our tool, we have seen that it's providing a lot of intense value around aligning with different roles, faster onboarding for your users, getting some of that guesswork out of the way. And we have some great documentation within our Trust Center too that you can work through with our team if you have any questions around any of this stuff. And then last but not least, the standardization. Everybody wants to have standardization, whether it's their tool stack, their processes, their client portal, whatever that may be. So fast, repeatable engagements. All of this happens in a secure branded portal, as you saw from a client perspective. So the client experience is going to be great. And most importantly, it's not just for tax, it's for every team within a firm. So all good things.
I go back one second. I just want to paint the picture. I just want us to imagine a world where if you're a firm owner, applies to your teams, or if you're an actual practitioner, an accountant, or CPA, this applies to you. Like, imagine what life would be like next tax season if you didn't have to manually email your clients to ask them for the status of the document. Like, imagine if that just went away, because that's what we're seeing inside of ShareFile is those real-time reminders, the enhanced visibility and transparency. Imagine like just on a micro level, they might make your day a little bit easier. And that's kind of what we're after. So I just wanted to emphasize that, just kind of imagine, like, these are all great features. We've data dumped a lot of information on you, but just want to take it back a step and just kind of imagine what life would be like if you could instantly see the status of an engagement. If you can just open up a template and just use it, not even a lot of, it's a kind of on autopilot. All those manual tasks are kind of offloaded from your plate. So that's something that I just wanted to end on. I just, wanted to share that if you have any additional questions, you can visit sharefile.com, talk with a product specialist, as I mentioned. But then, also you can browse some of the content on our website. We have some use case customer stories of customers that are using ShareFile and benefiting from it. For example, Nina Lang, she's been using the PBC. She called, as I said, document request list PBC, but she's been using it, and you can kind of get some of that validation from other people just like you that are using and liking this tool. I hope this was helpful, and we'll be talking with you really soon. This is part 1 of a 4-part web series, so we'll definitely be chatting again.
You guys are ready to take a spin? Look up for a free trial. Let me just flash it on the screen real quick. We do have this lovely QR code. So also as an AICPA member, we do have access to an exclusive partner discount that we can provide as well. So just good things to look at here.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.